of the border exchange where you go through the gate, like if you're going into Mexico or you're coming out of Mexico, because can you even travel by car right now? I mean, this is very serious what's happening in Mexico. So definitely praying for those individuals to get out. And like Matt Bracken was saying, you know, they could start kidnapping American citizens now, or they might, allegedly. So we definitely have to keep people in prayer. And sincerely, Lawless, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us here on the stream. Now, you did hear Alex Jones talk about the Podesta plan. So I was actually able to find a video where they gave like a little summary of it on Band.video, which is InfoWars. This is one of their many channels. And so I wanted to share that with you. And this is Mr. Bound. Here's one of his reports. And hopefully it'll get an understanding of what the Podesta plan is.
Enter the so-called Podesta plan, a plan that isn't a single neatly titled document you can Google in a heartbeat. It's the insidious undercurrent of strategies hatched by John Podesta, the longtime Clinton operative and Obama whisperer, to weaponize division, radicalize the masses, and claw back power through engineered unrest. And at its rotten heart, the Podesta plan emerges from the WikiLeaks trove of over 50,000 emails hacked from Podesta's Gmail in 2016.
This is a legitimate email. John needs to change his password immediately. So the IT team said, yes, John, reset your password at that bit.ly link. Well, they actually say reset it at myaccount.google.com, which is the right link, but he just went back to the original email and used the bit.ly link, and then he got hacked.
These weren't just chit-chat about pizza parties. They revealed a calculated machine, Podesta, as Hillary's campaign chair and founder of the left-wing think tank Center for American Progress, plotting to plant the seeds of the revolution in America. One bombshell email from 2012 penned by activist Sandy Newman to Podesta floated the idea of hijacking religious voters for a progressive uprising.
What Kirk said was dangerous. What Kirk said was racist, rooted in white supremacy, nasty, and hate-filled.
Fast forward through the leaks and you see the blueprint solidify, coordinate with media allies to amplify outrage, fund agitators through shadowy foundations, and stoke racial and cultural fault lines to delegitimize elections. It's not about winning votes. It's about winning the narrative war, turning dissent into dynamite.
Reaction to the Trump type?
Well, my reaction is it's disgusting. And I think people saw in real life what we've been saying for a long time. What Hillary said as far back as June is that he's unfit to be president of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, the president-elect of the United States, Donald John Trump.
Post-2016, as Trump stormed the gates, Podesta and his ilk didn't slink away, they doubled down. Remember James Carville, the raging Cajun himself, teaming up with Podesta and leaked chats right after the election? They schemed to paint Trump as an existential threat to minorities and immigrants, priming blue cities for secession and street-level sabotage.
Trump is a criminal. Criminals like to be around other criminals.
And a mob boss.
Yeah.
Podesta's fingerprints are everywhere, from emails coordinating with CNN's Donna Brazile to rig town halls to whispers of pressuring donors like Saudi Arabia and Qatar over ISIS funding while ignoring Clinton Foundation ties.
But most scandalous is that one of the biggest donors to this supposedly progressive team is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, currently massacring dissidents in its own country, as well as thousands of Yemeni civilians. The Saudi regime funds the Clintons with at least tens of millions of dollars. And in 2015, the Saudi government also started paying $140,000 per month to the Podesta group.
Now, zoom to today, and the Podesta plan isn't theory, it's fully operational. With Trump back in the saddle and the deep state reeling, Sources are buzzing about a Podesta-led Democrat plan for 1,500 protests across all 50 states, scripted riots in L.A., and false flags to frame Trump as a dictator, all to ignite a civil war scenario and seize power. Podesta is not just advising on climate scams like the Inflation Reduction Act's $370 billion green slush fund.
As Karine noted, we're marking the one-year anniversary of a truly transformative piece of legislation, the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the largest investment in clean energy and climate action ever in the United States, in the history of the world. But first, I want to acknowledge that...
But you know what's interesting? I have to pause it right there. Then what happened to Cancer Alley? What happened to Flint? What happened to Jackson, Mississippi? You keep talking about this clean air and clean water, but you do nothing about what's actually happening. But you support the companies that are doing the damage. Yeah, I want y'all to take that in. Listen to what he said and take in what I just said. Cancer Alley is still happening in Louisiana. There's no clean water in Jackson. There's no clean water in Flint. Still happening. And yet the Democrats are talking about, oh, this is the best piece of legislation. This was life-changing for the people who made money off of it and changed nothing. Just let that sit in.
Today's event is coming during a time of heartbreak as the toll of extreme weather fueled by climate change is being felt across the country and the world.
Now we're just having to get the money out as fast as possible before they come in and fuck up. It truly feels like we're on the Titanic and we're throwing gold bars off the hatch.
He's the architect of the unrest that keeps the masses distracted while the elite consolidate. This is the Podesta plan, orchestrated uprising, riding out into this very day. Infowars.com.
Yeah. So when you hear about the Podesta plan, that's it. And we can even look at how the World Economic Forum, when they were showing those videos during the first lockdowns that we had, and they were saying, you'll own nothing and be happy, right? Drones will deliver things to your door. They were really trying to make people succumb to being slaves. I'm like, what are we doing? It's weird. Y'all talk about, oh no, we don't agree with slavery, but yet, and still you're trying to have people actually buy into it with different forms and matters. Debt slavery, medical martial law, that's still slavery. Now you've got violence everywhere where people are, afraid to say what their political leanings are. They're afraid to go to certain places. We have no-go zones here in America, just like they do in Europe. Yeah, those things are happening. And we need to be aware of what's going on, and we need to put a stop to it. We cannot sit back and hide on the couch. You need to get off the couch and go outside in your cities, in your towns, and make sure this stuff isn't happening. Get on the election board in your county, in your city. Because trust me, the seats are available. And they know people are kind of like, oh, it's somebody else's job. No, it's your job. It's yours. And you need to get outside and handle it. Now, the next thing that I wanted to look at, and this is another video from John Bound. This is talking about how they're actually, looking more into the royal family and some of these sex scandals that have been going on, especially since the release of the Epstein files.
The Epstein files continue to crumble the foundations of an old world loosely strung together by its anointed Luciferian power broker. Connections to Saudi royalty have surfaced, while Epstein being authorized to land at UK Royal Air Force bases has the British government scratching its head.
But who, if anyone, is following up what we now know from one email that I discovered, which is short, but brings in the Children's Investment Fund, of which Rishi Sunak was a partner, The advisor that sent it, who then goes on to also advise Sarah Ferguson, who is given a royal appointment from Mum, the Queen, for some sort of role that we don't know of, who the next day jumps on a plane to China to arbitrate a trade deal that is facilitated with Prince Andrew, who, as we know, then goes on to take probably a wholly different group of Chinese people into royal palaces before we find out that they are not who they say they are.
The cold case of Alyssa Dimitrieva pops back up to the surface. A 17-year-old Latvian teenager went missing in August of 2011. A dog walker stumbled across her badly decomposed, partially clothed remains on the Queen's private Sandringham estate in Norfolk, prime royal hunting ground, the kind of place where the Windsors go to shoot pheasants and escape the spotlight. Police immediately launched a full-blown murder probe. Evidence piled up. Phone pings placed her last signal near Sandringham. 2 men were in custody, yet no charges, ever. Now under scrutiny as the British royal family squints in the spotlight.
There are villages within this estate, so it is open to the public in many places. Only around the house is it very private and secure, and this happened about a mile away from the main gates to the house, so it is in the Queen's backyard, you could say.
In Norway, across the pond from the UK royal demonic pedos, Crown Princess Mette-Marit's son, Marius Borg-Høiby, is on trial in Oslo, facing 38 charges, including 4 counts of rape, aggravated assault, threats, non-consensual filming, and more against multiple women from 2018 to 2024. Newly released Epstein files expose hundreds of emails between Crown Prince Mette-Marit and the Mater D of Satan from 2011 to 2018, chatting about island visits for her family, her boredom with royal life, and topics like adultery and suggesting naked women pics as wallpaper for Marius. And right on cue, because she assumes she is above the peasants, she publicly apologizes for her poor judgment.
I just think it's extremely sad. It's sad that we have people at the very top who think it's acceptable to associate with a convicted paedophile. I find that quite tragic.
However, Norway just slammed the door on elite impunity. Former Prime Minister Thorbjørn Jagland, an ex-Nobel Peace Prize committee chair and Council of Europe boss, has been charged with aggravated gross corruption over his deep ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein document dumps exposed emails showing Jagland arranging solo and family trips to Epstein's luxury spots in Paris, New York, and Palm Beach, even after the financier's 2008 conviction for soliciting a minor. Jagland showered Epstein with gifts, travel perks, and possibly loans tied to his influential positions. The Council of Europe has stripped his diplomatic immunity at Norway's request, clearing the path for the indictment.
It is a very serious suspicion, and the circumstances that have been uncovered must be taken very seriously. I am glad that I live in a constitutional state where the prosecuting authorities take their responsibility seriously, and I will be careful not to get involved because it is their responsibility.
Meanwhile, back in the United States,
Goldman Sachs accepted the resignation of its chief legal officer, Kathy Rumler. Recent documents released by the U.S. Justice Department showed she accepted gifts from Epstein and advised him on how to address media inquiries regarding his crimes. Rumler is the most high-profile banking executive to depart after the release of the latest Epstein files.
Still, zero movement on the home team pedo elites. It's the same old protection racket, while the world continues to furiously crack the code. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
Host. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And I wanted to get into a little bit more of a Tell It All Tuesday news. And this actual post I'm going to show you is from Juicy Genius. And definitely check her out on X. And she says, Divine Nine exposed the satanic rituals and abuse forced on young people who want to be a part of a secret society. So this only doesn't just happen on certain ethnicities, I should say, right? They talk about secret societies that George W. Bush was a part of, right? And they've made movies about it. But it also happens in the Black community with our young people, and I'm sure in various other communities. So let's check out this clip.
and 19-year-old girls. So I'm not a victim. I brought over 4 lines and I abused 4 lines full of girls. I manipulated them. I sat there and looked these girls' moms in their face and told them that I was taking care of their kids, and I was sitting there abusing their children. All these people, oh my gosh, Epstein, and we should expose. No, we're about to expose you. They set up the altar and they put it at the front of a church and they desecrate the altar.
Whoa.
You would have to repeat the founders over and over and over again, necromancy. If you tell, you going to jail and you getting kicked out of school. Y'all should have walked away. We're implicated. If you got hurt that night, they would drop you off at the hospital and they would all come together and come with a corroborative story. You had Deltas that worked at the police station, everything. We did that to 2 girls. We went under investigation and we all got in a room and lied and corroborated our story that we didn't know them. They had a thing called digging for worms that we would do outside blindfolded, where we would dig and dig and dig until our nails bled. Where if you was the girl that had the nicest hair on the line, they would put all types of concoctions and they would ruin your hair.
No.
Yes, they would. We ate dog food. The reason that they can get away with it is because of Hell Night. People are not telling the truth. It would be grace from God if I went to jail. Did we hurt people? What? We brutally hurt people.
No.
Oaths, rituals, necromancy. We was doing spells almost every night. So your memory is gone. Ask people in the comments. Majority of them cannot even remember half of the stuff that they did. It's 9 candles that you light in the Sigma, and they have 9 words. And each day we do a ritual to those words. And all 9 of those words are a blasphemous take on the 9 fruits of the Holy Spirit. It's a dark room. It has a red candle and a white candle because the deity attached to Delta is Minerva. Minerva is the goddess of wisdom. And we would light that candle to usher the spirit of the wisdom into the atmosphere. We need a female deity. Jesus ain't it. And they would take your hand and you would be hand in hand and say, I light the torch of wisdom. I invite in myself a new life force, which is Delta Sigma Theta. You walk away singing this little light of mine. We had God present. Yeah, you had God present so you could blaspheme him. You're sitting here saying to me, oh, this is a Christian liberty? Oh, nah. And we had to wash ourselves and say, I rid myself of all negative energy. I am refreshed, renewed, and I am reborn.
No.
Yes, we did. National process. Every person has done it. Every person has done it. We had to go give a gift at the altar. And we would have to light candles. We would have to give gifts. And you decide that you want to drop. You become an eternal pyramid.
Yeah. So that's happening to our babies. And I actually have people that I know, relatives that are a part of the Greek society. And we definitely need to pray for those that are a part of this, because I don't think people realize how deep it is until you get there, right? From the outside, you're like, oh, this looks really great. And this looks nice. You know, growing up, just to tell a short story, when I was growing up, you know, they had the movie School Days, and I was very enthralled by it. And then I actually visited Clark University because I was dating somebody at Morehouse. And I just remember them having to like walk by me and do this weird thing. And it turned me off forever. I was like, I don't ever want to be a part of anything like that. That's stupid. And that was my mentality. I was like, this is dumb. No, thank you. So I went through all my college years, just never even wanted to be a part of it. And now seeing things like this, I'm like, God was saving me from that. Necromancy. Those are all things that are part of pagan rituals and witchcraft. So, yeah, if your children are trying to get into these secret societies, I think you need to do your research before you go, because at least at that point, you can't say, I didn't know, right? You can't say that. Now, I did not get into the tariffs with Trump, and I meant to do that with you guys briefly, super briefly, because I've got like 3 more videos I need to share with you guys. And I'm like, I don't want to put this off again until Wednesday. I could though, but it's one of those things. It's almost like I don't have enough of this to do that. summertime. And yeah. Anyway. Anyway, I just wanted to briefly hit and go over the Trade Act of 1974, which is what Trump is looking at doing next outside of the tariffs that they've struck down, right? So he did these tariffs and they said, you can't do that, even though it was a positive for the country, but can't do that. All right. So this is something it's codified called a balance of payments of authority. It gives the president broad but temporary unilateral power to address macroeconomic trade and currency imbalances through import restrictions. It has never been used by any prior president until February 2026, when President Trump invoked it to impose a temporary global import surcharge after a Supreme Court ruling invalidated certain tariffs imposed under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Like I said, under the IEEP, as he stated, he could destroy lives. He could destroy whole countries. He could destroy whole trades, but he couldn't make any money for the American people. He could not negotiate. He could not imply tariffs, but he could destroy everything. So with this one, this balance of payments, he's able to do it, but he only has 150 days to utilize it. So the question is, when does it start and when does the time clock start and end, right? And I'm going to go to the bottom of this. And here's the deal. At the end of the day, people want to know, do we have to pay back the $175 billion, right? And if you decide to go this route, can you start it over again, or what happens? So in the section 122, surcharge is a fresh temporary levy that starts collection anew, does not absorb or excuse the government's obligation to old duties. Okay, so if you're an importer affected by this, consulting trade counsel or monitoring CIT development, CBP guidance would be key, as the situation remains fluid with ongoing litigation and possible legislative moves. Okay, meaning that whoever felt that they were harmed by having to pay this collectively $175 billion, they can come after the United States to get their money back. They can. Now, there is no statutory mechanism for 122 trade or custom law to roll over credit or recharacterize prior unlawful collections as payment towards the new surcharge. Because I was asking, okay, so we got this $175 billion. Can we just like use this to absolve that? No, you can't. The $175 billion is what it is, and it has to be paid back. It is what it is. Okay, but they can use 122 to impose these tariffs for the next 150 days. And get it done. So they actually can make more money than the $175 billion. That's why I was like, okay, do they want to just like keep their money? They want to just like keep it the way it is. If you want to come after us, that's fine. But now we're going to make more money in the next 150 days. So I'm sorry I'm jumping around, but I just wanted to do this quickly. And you can also, I'll have the link so you guys can look through it and really dig in. But Section 122 is a separate narrow authority for temporary broad import surcharges up to 15% ad valorem to address balance of payment issues. President Trump invoked it immediately after the ruling on February 20th. So this is when our time clock starts right here. He's got 150 days from now, and that's it. Now, imposing 10% initially, later announced toward 15%, and that's effective as of today. So we'll probably hear more about this as at his State of the Union address. And I said why refunds are likely, because I asked, it says no funds collected under the invalidated IEP can be simply rolled into the new surcharges. So that can't happen. I was trying to find something else for you guys. The duration is 150 days unless Congress passes legislation to extend it. So there is possible extension, but Congress would have to do that. Now in 150 days, things may be changing. Just saying. Let's see. 9 months till November, we'll probably have a new Congress. Yeah, but they can't do anything until January, so the old Congress would still be there. So he's got a shot. Just saying, he's got a shot if they can extend it with the current Congress, but it would be via an act of Congress to do that. So he couldn't go over those 150 days. So I wanted to share that with you.